So welcome to Mastering the Basics of Money Management, Level Up Your Finances. This is one in the series of Beyond the Classroom, and where we'll be looking at financial literacy. So I'm happy that you could join us today. And I want to talk about something that impacts every single aspect of our lives, money. And let's be real, we're stepping into a world that's a whole lot different than the one our parents grew up in. And money kind of have a practicality to it, right? So we've got side hustles, we're digital natives, we're not afraid to chase our dreams.
Hear you. This is Tara.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay. So I think we're good now. Okay, great. So previously, Dr. Blackburn looked at the psychology that drives our attitudes towards money, savings and investing. Like, what are the principles? What are the concepts we hold? What is it in our subconscious, our socialization that really influences our decisions? But today we'll examine some simple but practical ways we can slowly incorporate in our personal financial management to help us get to a better place. And I think we're doing good, but now it's really the time that we want to level up. But let me give you a little bit of context. I wasn't really financially savvy when I was young, when I was younger. Directly out of high school, I went into banking. That was my first career. And while in banking, I was very adventurous, very creative, and I had a very entrepreneurial mind. So while in banking, simultaneously, I established a seafood distribution business. And I started it with no money, no financing, just building relationships, and took it to a really good place. But I wasn't trained on managing finances. I had no accounting experience, etc. When I left banking, I went to university. That's when I started doing my first degree now. And I was able to pay for my first degree based on taking action on some advice that my mother gave me like 5 years prior. She encouraged me to open an insurance policy with an investment portion to it. So I was working in banking. The bank closed, and I decided I'm going to go into university. And it was actually the investment portion of my investment policies that I utilized to pay my university tuition, as well as some of the earnings from the business that I established earlier. Completed my degree in management and accounting, and thereafter started working with one of those European oil energy companies, Royal Dutch Shell Petroleum Company. And I think for me, I was very fortunate that I got into an organization like that. Let me explain to you why, and you'll understand why this topic is so passionate to me. Because while being there, I was taught and trained on creating and managing budgets for different departments. I was trained on meeting revenue targets and basically making decisions that would benefit the organization so that there's always profitability. And while in the organization, I thought to myself, wow, it really does make sense that you're putting some thought into managing revenue and managing expenses. And I essentially utilize one of the spreadsheets that they had and crafted something for myself. So I had my own income and expenses spreadsheet that I started working with. So I started creating a budget for myself, and that is where we are now, right? And some of us may be thinking, I mean, finances, it's finances. We should be able to manage it. There's nothing technical about it. There's nothing complex about it. But while we go through this afternoon, let's just try to ditch this stuff in spreadsheets and just see how we can have a better handle on handling our money. Just think of it like leveling up your financial game, so to speak, right? So, do you think you're financially savvy? And I'm sure that a lot of us will in the affirmative say yes, we are. But let's think about this. There was a research conducted by a student at St. Olaf College in 2030 that explored the relationship between financial literacy and undergraduate students' perception of post-college life. So the study aimed to test two hypotheses. One, students with higher financial literacy are more likely to understand post-college financial responsibilities. And two, students with higher perceived financial literacy experience less anxiety about post-college life. Now, I'm not being biased here, but something that I picked out from the research, when it looked at the influence of undergraduate major on financial literacy, it found that business majors typically score higher on financial literacy tests compared to non-business majors. Now, what's the importance of that? And this is something interesting that while I've been researching, looking around, there's always something that comes across to me. And these are some of the items I found out there. The high income debt trap, how a couple earning six figures net amassed $81,000 in debt. And then I saw something that Megan Caston wrote on her blog. And I'll just read it for you quickly. It all starts with us meeting in college, where we both had taken out a lot of student loans so that we could have a good education. And since we never took a finance class or had our parents teach us how to save, spend, or give, we had no clue how to manage our money. So we got married, already in debt, all while feeling very entitled to buy what we wanted, putting all purchases on credit cards. We financed everything, leased our cars, made minimum payments on credit cards, and spent more than we made. Because we were told that debt is not only normal, but also helps build your credit score. And she emphasized, by year 5 of our marriage, we had over $200,000 of debt. And those are real stories. Now, this is the lesson that we can take from it. We ask ourselves, we can be stressed about bills, or we can take control and relax, right? Because imagine this, you're scrolling through TikTok, you see your favorite artist coming to town. Now, do you really want to be the one stressing about how to afford the ticket, or the one who's already got it booked? Or maybe you're dreaming about backpacking through Europe during the holidays, right? Starting your own clothing line, or just having the freedom to choose a career you love, not just one that pays the bills. That's the power of financial literacy. It's about having the power to make choices that align with your goals, no matter how big or small. So I'll just spend the next few minutes breaking down simply money management into 3 different levels. Understanding your income and expenses is the first one. Second, building a budget. that actually works for you and really becoming a savings superhero. So by the end of the session, I want that you have the tools and knowledge just to level up your finances and make the money work for you rather than you working for the money. So first things first, let's talk about income. Now, income isn't just what you earn from the paycheck from your job, right? There are tons of ways of bringing in cash. Think side hustles. We are in that era where there are so many things that we can do that brings in income, right? Whether you want to sell artwork online, whether you want to do freelance gigs like graphic design or writing, or even creating content on platforms like YouTube, right? So all of that is income. And don't forget about the power of investing, because even small amounts can grow over time thanks to the magic of compounding interest. And we'll speak a little bit more on compounding interest later on. So the more you diversify your income, right, the more financial freedom you will have. So just begin thinking about what is being reflected as income for you. Importantly, that income, you want to track it. So once you got that money coming in, it's time to track it. And luckily, we've got tech on our side. Really, we are in that age now. So there are some awesome budgeting apps like Mint or Personal Capital that make it super easy to see where your money is going, right? They categorize your spending, give you personal insights, and even help you set financial goals. But if you're more of a do-it-yourselfer, a simple spreadsheet can really do the trick. Just create categories for your income and expenses and input your transactions regularly. And don't knock the old school method of a notebook and pen. Sometimes going analog helps you really connect with your spending because you're writing it down and you're thinking about it and you're really seeing where the money is going or where it's coming from, right? So importantly, we need to track it, right? So the not so fun part is expenses, but think about it like this. You're getting an income so that you can facilitate your expenses, right? So I'll say they're like the money monsters that are trying to gobble up all of our hard-earned cash. That's how I reflect on it sometimes. But let's see how we can tame them. So first, we need to know what kind of monsters we are dealing with. What kind of expenses are we dealing with, right? So there are fixed expenses, and these are the ones that stay pretty much the same each month, like your rent, your utilities, and subscriptions. And a lot of us, we get caught with subscriptions and we totally forget about them. And sometimes we wonder where our money is going, right? And then there are the variable expenses, which are the ones that change depending on our lifestyle, like eating out, entertainment, and shopping. This is where you have the power to make choices that impact your finances, right? So begin by categorizing them. What are the fixed expenses? Those are what you'll be spending on each month. And what are the variable expenses? The ones that you can really rein in, right? So we normally have a challenge sometime with this little gray area. What is a need versus what is a want? So we know needs are the essentials, things you literally can't live without, like housing, food, and transportation. Wants are the things that make life more fun, like that new pair of shoes, concert tickets, the latest gaming console, right? So learning to distinguish between the two is a major key to our financial success. So let's look at some examples. A need might be a basic phone plan to stay connected. While I want might be upgrading to the latest iPhone. I'm not knocking iPhone. I'm just saying you may not need to update to the latest iPhone each time there's a new edition, right? And you're really updating just for the new cool camera, right? A need might be buying groceries to cook at home, while a want might be ordering takeout every night. A need might be taking the bus to get around, while a want might be buying a brand new car. Now, we've seen the difference, and it's that gray area that you just need to have a line of demarcation, so to speak. So it's not about depriving ourselves. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about making conscious choices. So let's do a quick gut check. Think about your own spending, right? I mean, put it in the chat. Think of something that what you would consider a need. Let's see if there's let's see the interesting items that we consider a need on. Anybody? You can open your mic if you want to speak, or you can just put it in the chat. Right? Stephen, yeah. Stephen says a need would be food for the week. And we agree with that one, right? Anybody else? Internet in this age, that's a very interesting one, Kaden. And you may be right. Almost everything now is almost dependent on having connectivity. Clothes is a need. There we go. And even clothing, Nairobi, we'll say that we can differentiate those into need versus want as well, right? I agree with you. And a roof over our head, so rent or mortgage. And so that's very good. And so you see where we're getting at. We can easily identify the things that are needs that we really need to focus on. Now, what about wants? Right? A want is that you often spend money on. And just think about it. Eating out as a want, yes. A makeup, all right, very beautiful. I like that one. Makeup, right? So, and you see, it's not always black and white, because we can say that, well, eating out may be a need, right? And makeup may be a need, because it depends on the occasion that do you really need the makeup? Do we really need to eat out? And well, yes, we need to eat out, and yes, we need the makeup. So it's always that little challenge. But you can have fun just trying to differentiate your need versus your wants, and then you make some decisions. You prioritize them, right? So it's not always black and white, but being mindful of this distinction really helps us to make conscious choices about where our money goes. So let's see how we can create a budget, right? So we have tracked our income and expenses. We have looked at how we differentiate them, right? Let's see how we can create a budget. What are some of the guidelines out there to create a budget? And we're not talking about the restrictive joy-killing budgets that make us feel deprived. We're talking about a plan that it can help you achieve your goals, right? And really live the life you want, because there is life after university, right? We're actually doing our university degrees to lay a foundation so that we can have a nice platform to build a good life on. So there's a popular method, that 50-30-20 rule, that a number of persons used. And what it means is 50% of your income goes towards needs. So we just did that differentiation. So needs are the essential expenses like housing, utilities, groceries, and transportation. So we allocate 50% of our income to those. And we try to ensure that whatever decision we're making, it doesn't exceed 50% of that, right? And then 30% goes to wants, non-essential expenses, such as eating out, dining out, or entertainment, or hobbies, right? So 30% goes to wants. And then the other 20%, right, we put it towards savings, money set aside for investments or even debt repayment. So this is not fixed in stone. This is not something that everybody has to do. You can make variations as you go ahead. You can actually have your needs at 40%, your wants at 40%, and your savings at 20%, or your wants at 30% and your savings at 30%. It depends on the goal you have in mind. It depends on what you're working towards, what you want to achieve, right? So although it's not etched in stone, it's not something that everybody has to do, it is a very good starting point, especially if you're new to budgeting. It is something that you can really sit, categorize your expenses into needs, wants, savings, right? And you work towards it from there, right? But maybe the 50-30-20 rule isn't really your thing, right? So, but that's cool. There are other methods out there where you can utilize, right? So there's the zero-based budgeting where you give every single dollar a job, right? You account for every single dollar. So this is great for those of us who like to be super organized and know exactly where our money is going. You basically list all of your income and all of your expenses, and then you allocate your income to each expense until you have zero left over. It's like a puzzle, but for your money. And when you're coming from managing certain businesses, it's something that you develop this knack for. You become so meticulous and very detail oriented. You know, every single expense you ensure that it is accounted for, and the accounting majors will find more alignment with this than most of us. So if you notice here, we have a total income of $8,000, and then we broke down the expenses, right, into the home expenses where there's mortgage, utilities, telephone. For daily living, we list groceries, dining out, house cleaning. And then we have transportation like fuel, insurance, repairs. There's entertainment, cable TV, health, life insurance, vacation. We allocate money to our vacation budget. So we're planning for vacation as well because we intend to live, like live while we live, right? And their recreation for categorized like gym fees, etc. And of course, um, we allocate funds to clothing, and then the financial obligations, long-term savings, retirement account like 401k, and credit card payments. So the intention is that every single dollar is accounted for in that budget, right? And of course, maybe you're a more visual person and you're not into the spreadsheets. Um, so what you can do is try what they refer to as the envelope system. And you literally divide your cash into envelopes for different categories. And if you notice, the principle remains the same in that you're categorizing your expenses. That's the principle. The principle remains the same, that you're categorizing your expenses. An interesting here from Kaden. Do you think some people convince themselves that a want is a need even when they cannot afford it, whether that is on purpose or unconsciously? That's a very interesting question for conversation, for discussion, Kaden. And it's really debatable. But yes, some people will convince themselves that a want is a need. Some people will convince themselves, for example, that eating out is a need rather than a want. But then there's context too. So for each individual, it will be different. But that's a very good question. So the envelope budgeting system, it's very tangible, because once the envelope is empty, that's it for the month. You create categories. You do your cash. You create categories like for groceries, entertainment, and transportation, right? So what this one does, it takes you back to that era of just cold, hard cash that you're using. But what it does is after a while, it allows you to establish a principle, establish some disciplines, right? So you use a cold, hard cash to control your spending. And when you run out, when that envelope is finished, that's it. So here's how the process works. You determine your discretionary income, what it is that you're going to be spending on, right? You determine how much money you have available after you pay your bills and put money aside for savings and investment, right? So you notice that it is telling you to take care of your essentials first, take care of your needs, right? And then you decide on a budget. Once you know how much money you have left, decide how to divide it among the different budget categories, whether it's clothing, whether it's entertainment, whether it's gift, whether it's shopping, right? And these budget categories they may vary each month. So some examples of common categories include groceries, household items, entertainment or dining out, clothing, gifts, gas, and allowance, of course, to be spent as fund money. What you can do, you can actually look at your bank statement to get an idea of how much you have been spending in these areas. And if you use credit card, look at your credit card statements. All right. So you create the envelopes and you basically stuff them with cash. You write the name of each category on the envelope, and then after each paycheck, you put in the budgeted amount of cash, right? And you spend cash only. Once you run out of cash in an envelope, that's it, right? You have met your budget for that period, and you are unable to spend any more in that category until the next pay period. Now, if you have any debt, you can use the money left over from your envelopes to pay it off. If you do not have any debt, put your extra cash into a high yield savings account. Simple enough, very straightforward. And I did say that we're going to keep this simple and very practical, right? So, well, let's look at some examples of how different people might budget. So, a college student, for example, one of you may, with a part-time job, you may actually be prioritizing rent and food. And that's fine. We're going to go through different stages of our lives. But the important thing is to have that principle and the discipline on how to apply good, prudent financial management practices, right? So as a college student with a part-time job, you may actually be prioritizing rent and food. Someone working full-time might allocate more towards savings and travel, okay? And then someone who loves to cook might have a higher grocery budget, while someone who enjoys going out might allocate more towards entertainment. So the key is really to find a system that works for you and your unique circumstances, right? So let's put some of this into practice. Just imagine you have $5,000 coming in each month from your job and a side hustle. How would you divide that up using the 50-30-20 rule? Just take a minute and think about it. You can drop it in the chat. How would you divide that up? Just share how you'd allocate those funds. And in this case, the right, so 2,500 to mortgage, groceries, and other requirements. Yes. And then now we have, and I think you will all agree with Steve and myself that taking care of the mortgage, groceries, and the necessities will take priority, right? And that's the essence of having these kind of principles guiding guiding our budget creation. So we take care of the necessities, and then we see, okay, let's prioritize something to savings and vacation planning before we even look at the other variable expenses. Well, and 100 will go to lottery tickets. And who knows, you hit the lottery and you're like, oh, well, maybe I really don't need to budget again, right? Right. Oh, yes. The Minister of Home Affairs normally tells us how to spend, right? uh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I think we all get the gist of you know creating our budgets and having something that guides us. So this is something that you can actually sit down, look at your income, look at your expenses, and say, hey, let me try this, right? But thinking about it, is there anything that surprised you guys when you're thinking about this 50-30-20 rule and how you would allocate it? Like any of us in a situation where, oh wow, I'm actually spending more than 50% on my essentials, right? And that's the case, you can just take some time and look back at it, see what kind of adjustments or changes you can make. And it may be that, hey, we may have to take on something else to increase our income. Or it may just that we need to get more frugal or be a bit more prudent in how we manage our affairs. Or as Kaden pointed out, be very clear what are our needs versus what are our wants, right? So thank you for sharing those. So let's talk about becoming what I refer to as a savings superhero. You want to build a consistent savings habit, right? But why is saving so important? Well, first of all, we all know that life throws curveballs at us, right? We have to be practical. Your car might break down. You might have unexpected medical bills, right? Or who knows, maybe your favorite artist or band is coming to town or they announce a reunion and hey, you want to be a part of that, right? So having savings means you can handle those emergencies without going into debt. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of saving. You're setting aside. One, you save because you're saving towards something, but also you're saving, and some people refer to this as an emergency fund. And one of the rule of thumb is as soon as possible, you try build up an emergency fund to maybe 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Yes, Tara, go ahead. I see you have your hand up.
So, what does a person would need to do if their money is a little funny, yet they have the desire to save? Like, what would you suggest?
I would suggest you start small.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how small, start small. And then look, and I know you say the money is a little funny. So it's not as much as you'd want it to be. And sometimes we go through periods where we cut and there's absolutely nothing more we can remove from our budget. And we may now have to look at what else can I do to increase my income? And it may take some time, but at least it gets you to begin thinking and it gets you to be very mindful now of, because what this does, being in that frame of mind where you want to be deliberate about how you manage your expenses, it forces you to be disciplined about what you spend on. You may find that you're spending something. So every time you go to fill up your tank at the gas station, you go inside and you pick up something from the convenience store. And it just becomes part and parcel of what you do. And we humans, we are creatures of habit. So we continue doing these and we really don't see how draw on us. It may be that we have some subscriptions, like I'm guilty of that, right? I'll have some subscriptions, so and I forget about these subscriptions, but they are coming off my cards each month, and I'm just paying the bill, not even realizing that I'm not getting the benefit of these subscriptions because there's so much and no more that you can really access each month. So, but just having that mindset of being deliberate and just beginning to be aware now of what is happening with all your expenses. And sometimes some little things, just cutting back on some little things and setting aside some small amounts will help. But that's a very good question. I like that. I like how this have us begin thinking. Thank you, Tara. So as soon as you get your income, put a portion of it directly into savings. So one of the differences between a salaried employee and an entrepreneur or a business owner, I should say, is that a smart business owner actually pays themselves first, right? And if you notice how businesses operate here, you really pay taxes after you have verified or confirmed your profit or not, right? For a salaried employee, taxes, all deductions comes out first before you get your income. Now you have to flip the script a bit now and say, hey, I'm gonna try to be like a business owner. I'm gonna pay myself first. So you say, okay, for each pay period, I'm gonna put $100 aside or $200 aside before. And Tara is following up. I asked because I have been in this situation and it is extremely hard to save for a rainy day, especially being a salary employee, which seemed like a punishment. A need would be at any point if you have a sure. So a need would be food for the week, and I I like that. I like that comment, Tara. I like that comment because I think a lot of us can identify with that, right? Where it's really difficult to save for a rainy day. And as I said, we may just have to look at what can we do in addition to what we're doing. Or what else can we really cut back on? Because sometimes we have to go through a period of, all right, let's not do this for a while and see how it works. Can I do without this for a while? And you find out, hey, maybe I can really do without this for a while, right? And it will take some adjustment. It will take some adjustment, but also it may require us to be a bit more creative too, right? So thank you very much for that. So I was saying, as soon as you get your income, put a portion of it directly into savings. And, being a salaried employee, it's not so much of a punishment, is it? It helps us to lay a foundation. It helps us to lay a platform. I a lot of times I look back to, and I've spoken about my first job out of university, which was working with the Royal Dutch Shell Petroleum Company. And I think I was very fortunate. I was very fortuitous in that particular job, it does require discipline, yes. But in that particular job, I remember there was a period of time where, so we still got, at that time, internet technology wasn't how it is now. And at that time, you actually got a literal paper, pay stub, a pay slip. And I used to work on the road a lot. I hardly go into office. Remote work was the thing, etc. And I remember the admin assistant would normally call me and, young man, aren't you coming to pick up your pay slip? And this is the thing. I was very well compensated by that organization. So, now, and I think most of us can identify with this, that we look forward to payday. I was in a situation then where it didn't matter to me when we got paid because I was very well compensated. They took care of all my traveling expenses, my motor vehicle expenses, my food, my clothing, my accommodation. So those are some of the things that some of us got to experience. Now, when you get to experience that, and now I'm forced to be very disciplined because of how, and we are all salaried employees here. So we are forced to be very disciplined, and we are forced to be very practical in how we approach our finances. And it may seem as if sometimes you really just can't catch a break. And sometimes you just have to just step back and just breathe a little and say, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this somewhere. But let's see. So put a small amount into savings. Um, and it may look small, right? You may think that, well, this is not going to help me to travel the world or start a business, but you'll be surprised, right? You may want to buy a house someday. You may find that saving is really the ticket to make those things happen. So put a portion of it directly into savings even before you think about spending. So just think of it like a non-negotiable bill. You pay your rent, you pay your phone bill, and you pay yourself first, right? Just think of it like that. Technology helps us too. Like you can easily set up automated transfer from your account that your salary goes to into another account that you really don't touch, right? And most banks let you set up automatic transfers to your savings account. So you can literally set it up and forget it. It's like having a secret weapon working for you 24/7, right? And there are even apps that help you to round up your purchases to the nearest dollar and automatically save the difference. It may seem like small change, but it really adds up over time. Now, here's the really cool part with that. It's compound interest. It's basically your money making more money. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger each time. The earlier you start saving, the small amounts, the more you benefit from this magical power. And here is something that's really, really interesting, right? The power of investing. Think about this. If you invest $320,000 per month at a 7% interest, after 15 years, you'll actually have over $100,000. That's the power of compound interest, right? I mean, it seems small, $320 per month. Like, oh, wow. That's like $3,800 for the year. Well, yeah, right? So set some savings goals, right? And it's really important to have these savings goals. As I said earlier, we have to be deliberate about it. So you set some saving goals. You may have a short-term goal like buying a new laptop, right? Or you may have a mid-term goal like saving down for a down payment on a house. And $200 or $300 each month, you're saving that amount each month. It may seem small, but think about it, right? Think about it. You're $3,600 for the year, over 5 years, $18,000. Being a first time home buyer, you depending on what you're looking for, you may only need 3.5% of the value of the home to pay down as a deposit. Saving that amount over 5 years, you would have far exceeded the deposit you need and whatever else you need for closing costs, etc. So those small amounts, you have to be deliberate and think about it in practical terms. Or of course, a long-term goal like retirement, saving towards retirement, right? So having different goals will really help us stay motivated and really allows us to track our progress, right? So I think we've covered like a bit today. But here's the thing: mastering our money isn't a one-time thing, right? It's an ongoing journey. It's something that we always have to be on top of. So we have to check in with our budget regularly, track your progress, and celebrate your wins along the way. So I still use a simple spreadsheet. And from time to time, I go back to it. Like, and I watch what I spend on gas, for example. So I have teenage kids. They're involved in all different kind of activities. So my gas bill isn't just going to be about driving to work and going back home. So there are periods when they have a lot of activities, and during that period, my gas bill is going to spike, right? Um, Here we basically have maybe the four seasons. So in summer, our AC bill will spike. In winter, our heating bill will spike. And when you're mindful and you keep your eye on those things, it helps you to manage other things that really affect or impact how we spend our money. So track our progress and celebrate the little wins along the way. Life happens. Sometimes our income changes, our goals may evolve, our goals may change, but really don't be afraid to adjust your plans as needed, right? Now there are a lot of resources out there that can really help you to help, manage your money. Really some awesome budgeting apps. You can explore sites like Investopedia and NerdWallet for financial tips and advice. And really don't forget the online calculators, which help you visualize your savings, right? And your bank, of course, our banks, they really have free resources, so we can really explore those. Okay, so that's it for me. If there are any questions, you all want to ask, we I think we have a few minutes, right, Steve? Yes. That if there are any questions, if there are anything that you're not clear on, or you need more advice on, so I'm happy that you were able to join us today. I'm hoping that the information shared can just really get us into a mindset of just being more mindful and just take charge and master our money. And as the Beyond the Classroom series continue, um, next presentation will be on the 22nd, Building a Strong Financial Foundation by Dr. Bice in Cochrane. There's going to be a Teams link as well, and he'll go more into investing. He'll go more into investing and some of the things we can look at where saving is concerned. And then also on Tuesday the 28th, Boundaries and Conflict Resolution by Dr. Shannon Daly. And then Wednesday the 12th of November, Dr. Yassine will look at smart investing for beginners. And then we wrap it up for this semester with Digital Detox 101 by Professor Shelley Hopko. Right? So yeah, I'm sure in 15 years we are all going to be a little bit richer, just following some of these guidelines. It takes time. It takes time and it takes discipline. What you don't want is 15 years time, you're reflecting on this, you're all like, wow, maybe if I had followed some of those guidelines, I would have been in a better place. But I'm sure that if we implement some of these, or just a small part of any of these, we'll be in a much better place 1 year time, 5 years time, 10, 15 years time. Right? Right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope it was thank you, Kaden. I hope it was as insightful for you as it was for Kaden and myself. Right.